And like, you took a picture with that little baby giraffe. Yeah. Like, two, like, flags. Yeah.
Alright guys, good afternoon and welcome to today's Giraffe Talk. My name's Jimmy and I'm one of the keepers here on the African division of the zoo. These guys being native to Africa, they're just some of the animals that I'm looking after today. Now I could go through and talk about them all individually because they're all like we are and they all have their own unique personalities, but that'll take me all day. So I'm just going to tell you about giraffes in general today and why they look the way they do. In saying that, I'll give you a brief introduction just so you do know who's who in our group. Now the biggest one standing in the exhibit in the middle with her ears looking forward, she's looking a little bit uncomfortable at the moment. Her name is Nyota and she's 17 years of age. Now that's middle-aged for a giraffe. In captivity they can live anywhere from 25 to 30 years and in the wild from 20 to 25 years. In saying that, Nyota is like most teenagers, she can be a little bit cheeky. Whenever we've got the pleasure of her standing here with us at the platform, we definitely do have to watch our backs. If we're not careful, she will try and swing her head and headbutt us, and if we're really unlucky, she'll sneeze all over us as well. Now, the next one in the group would be the one that's just come and joined us now. Her name's Andara. She's a little bit different to Nyota, a lot more personable. You'll see here, Andara's very, very friendly. She was actually hand-raised, so unlike the others that were parent-raised, she looks at us as part of her group. She's definitely a favourite amongst all of us keepers. She'll allow us to do almost anything to her, and she's also the main animal that we'll ever use for any PR or photo sessions that we've got going on. Now the next one would be the one who's actually, that's Nyota, something spooking her at the moment. Even though they're big animals, they do get spooked quite easy. It won't take much, a lizard or something crossing the exhibit and they will be off, fight and flight response. Now, I'm sorry, the next one in the exhibit, who's the smallest one, her name is Giraffe and she's only 5 years of age. We've only had her here with us at Taronga Zoo for about the last 3 years. She came from Western Plains Zoo, which is Taronga's sister zoo, located out in Dubbo. But as you can see, over those few years, she's slowly gotten used to this group and slowly gotten used to the big smoke here in Sydney. Now, last but definitely not least, is the second one back here. He's got the spottier face. His name is Jimmy U. He's Giraffe's half-brother. Like Giraffe, he was also born at Western Plains Zoo. He's only 3 years of age. He is the only male in our group, so most people would say lucky him. I know that he's been castrated, so I'd beg to differ on that fact from little old Jimmy U. Now the reason we have actually castrated him is because his bloodline is so well represented throughout Australasia, we can't have any risk of him inbreeding with his siblings. In saying that though, being the only male in the group, as Jimmy U grows up and he starts to mature, his behaviour will play a very important part in the social dynamics of this group. So now I'm going to tell you a bit about them, starting right at the top there with their horns. They're one of only 2 species of animal that are actually born with their horns. The other one is their closest relative, the okapi. Now, I'm not sure how many people have actually seen an okapi before. There's none here in captivity in Australasia, but it's quite an unusual animal. It's about half the size of an adult giraffe, so a little bit smaller than Zarafa. The bottom half looks very much like a zebra, and the top half does look like a giraffe. So as I said, definitely an unusual looking animal, their closest relatives and the only other species born with their horns. Fortunately though, for the female giraffe and the female okapi, when they do give birth to the calves horns are actually flat to the skull, and they take about 2 to 4 weeks to stand up, and about 4 to 7 years for them to become fully fused to the skull. So little Jimmy U here and little Zarafa back there, being only juveniles, their horns would still be quite sensitive. Now as you can see with Jimmy U and the girls here, both the male and the female giraffe do have horns. The boys, however, will have 5 horns located around their face, and the females normally only 3. So on both male and female, these 2 at the top of the head and that little bump there in the centre of the face, they're all classed as horns. But again, as Jimmy U grows up and he starts to mature, you'll eventually notice he'll get 2 very large lumps behind his ears as well, and they will be again classed as horns. Now it's pretty important, especially for the boys, that they do have these horns, as what they do for them is they act like a built-in crash helmet. And during the breeding season, the male giraffes often fight over breeding rights to the females, and they'll do that by swinging their necks and banging their heads together in a pendulum-type motion. So it's really important that they do have those horns, just to prevent any serious head injuries during those times of necking. Now another really important feature for these guys would be their eyesight. Now they do have really good eyesight, and with the great heights that they stand, it's actually said that they can see danger approaching from about a kilometre radius around them. Now what they would do, should they see any signs of danger, is stomp those 2 front hooves on the ground at great strength, just to warn all the other herd members that danger is approaching. Now they don't really vocalise that much apart from the odd grunt and snort, so their main form of communication would be through their stomping and also through their body language. Now it is also really common for other African animals like zebra and most African antelope to take refuge with the giraffe. Because they are the first animals to see danger approaching, it's to all the other species' advantage to hang out with them, so if any predators do come along, they normally take flight in the same direction as what the giraffes do. So that is a very neat adaptation that most African animals have, is to use these guys like a danger lookout.